Christine, our breaking news comes from the Mile High City where Sean Payton has made the decision to let Russ simmer. Our Adam Schefter reporting the Broncos have decided to bench Russell Wilson the final 2 games and has informed the team that Jarrett Stidham will start Sunday against the Chargers. Denver's offense has sputtered lately, 1-3 the last 4 games, averaging just over 20 points per game. So for more, let's bring in our NFL insider, Adam Schefter. Listen, the Broncos technically remain in contention for a playoff spot. They are at 7-8. What can you tell us, Schefter, about why the decision was made now?
Well, Brian, the fact of the matter is the Broncos will say this is a football decision, but it is more a financial decision because Russell Wilson has $37 million in guaranteed money that will be due on the 5th day of the league year in March if he's still on the roster and he's not healthy. And so they are preserving his health by benching him now and not putting themselves at risk of that $37 million in guaranteed money that would be due in March. And so they're putting him on the bench. They're making him the backup. And from the football standpoint, they do want to get a look at Jarrett Stidham, who's on a 2-year contract, who very well could be the starting quarterback of the Broncos next season. But it is certainly not going to be Russell Wilson now with the Broncos making this move. We've seen other teams make this move in the past. We saw the Raiders do it with Derek Carr. We saw them do it with Jimmy Garoppolo. We saw the Colts do it with Matt Ryan. And now the Broncos have done it with Russell Wilson, who now will serve as the backup to Jarrett Stidham in Sunday's game against the Chargers.
Okay, so we've heard about the money. Obviously, Jarrett Stidham now looks like he's getting an audition. Then what would the, let's say, trade market look like for Russell Wilson, you think?
Well, that guaranteed money on the 5th day of the league year will make it such that every team in the league knows that the Broncos have to move on from him. That doesn't mean that they can't try to trade him, but they would have to get Russell's cooperation in a rework contract, and they're not going to get that once you've been benched. And so the chances are that he will wind up being released this offseason before that guaranteed money kicks in on the 5th day of the league year. And that's why today's announcement is so significant. The Broncos essentially are turning the page on Russell Wilson, handing the football to Jarrett Stidham and saying, we want to take a look at you to see if you're our future, but we believe that Russell Wilson isn't our future, and it's time to move on from him. And it's just a question now of figuring out exactly how they do that, but all signs would point to him being released before the 5th day of the league year in March.
And so that sounds like then, Adam, that they're willing to accept, what is it, about an $85 million dead cap, looking like a charge on their cap for next season?
You would spread it out and designate him a post-June 1 salary cap hit, which would help soften the blow next year and spread out those costs over 2 seasons. But that is the path that they are now on, that Russell Wilson would be a post-June 1 salary cap casualty.
Wow. Last 4 games, by the way, Russell Wilson has thrown for 871 yards, 6 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Our Adam Schefter with the very latest.
All right, here's the thing. It wasn't that long ago that Russell Wilson was actually playing well. In the first 12 weeks of the season, Wilson had 20 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. But in the last 4 games, Wilson's QBR of 38 is the lowest among quarterbacks to start 4 games. We now say hello to NFL analyst Andrew Hawkins. Okay, Hawk, what was your initial reaction to this news?
I think it was writing on the wall, to be honest. When you saw the interaction from Sean Payton to Russell Wilson on the sideline a few weeks ago, I think it was indicative of this decision that they were making. Ultimately, I just don't think the time was big enough for the both of them. And Sean Payton had to draw his line in the sand and say, hey, I plan to move forward with this team without that of Russell Wilson. Because when you look at the way he's played this year, he's actually played pretty well, just like the graphic showed. And he's had a rough 4-game stretch, but even that is a little bit exaggerated because 3 of those interceptions came in a single game against the Houston Texans. I just think ultimately Sean Payton wants to go find his own quarterback and rebuild this team and this franchise as the new czar from the ground up.
Okay, so I want to ask you, because we obviously just saw that footage of them arguing there on the sideline. What do you think that made Sean Payton and Russell Wilson such a bad fit?
Honestly, I think it's just a differencing of opinion. I think Russell Wilson has done a lot in this league, to be honest. He is a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback. He's a Super Bowl winner. And again, when you see that sideline interaction, I think it made everybody kind of raise their eyebrows a little bit and wonder what the relationship was truly like. But I felt like Sean Payton coming in had a vision for what he wants with this franchise, had a vision for what he wants with this offense. And Russell Wilson was going to have to move heaven and earth for that to include him in the future plan. So ultimately, a coach wants to win with who he wants to win with his way. And I think that's Sean Payton, kind of imposing his will and saying, hey, this is my flag in the ground. This is what I want to be doing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things play out in Denver.
Let's bring in ESPN's Broncos reporter, Jeff Legwold from Denver. And Jeff, what are you hearing from inside that building on how this decision came down today?
Well, since the loss to New England Sunday and Sean Payton's obvious critique of the offense earlier this week, there was some feeling something could be done. But Sean Payton told the players in their usual morning meeting before they break up into position groups and then on to practice here in about 20 minutes or so. But he told the players in a morning meeting, and there wasn't really time for them to digest all this. They immediately went on to their other things. But this was something people here in Denver wondered if Payton would do over the final 2 weeks of the season, especially since their playoff chances are wafer thin.
Jeff, you kind of get the sense that maybe this is the beginning of the end of the Russell Wilson era there in Denver. What are people inside the building saying about that?
Well, this might be the first sort of small step toward moving on from Russell Wilson. There's an enormous amount of salary cap pain waiting for them if they cut Russell Wilson. The other issue here right now is there is an injury guarantee. Russell Wilson would be guaranteed $37 million if he does not pass a physical in early March. So the notion if he takes a sort of a catastrophic injury now, they would owe him $37 million in March. So that was likely had a large bearing on this decision.
Wow. Jeff Legwold at the Broncos facility. Thank you.